Good morning to you guys here. Good afternoon, I should say, along the East Coast there. Happy Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. And once again, guys, severe weather is going to be the topic for today. We're going to continue to talk about severe weather for the next couple of days as we lean towards more of a significant severe weather event going into next weekend. I should say this weekend into next week here. Looking at Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week. We've got some severe weather to talk about today. Wind and hail going to be more of the primary threats today with the conditional tornado risk. You guys can see ongoing this morning as well. Lots of convection ongoing. We've got an MCS that was moving through eastern portions of Texas and Oklahoma this morning. Those showers and storms are working their way into Arkansas and Louisiana. A couple severe thunderstorm warnings out there in northern Kansas this morning for some storms that are flaring up. You can see those echotops reaching through there in the atmosphere. So just a lot of convection ongoing this afternoon, this morning is what we're going to be seeing here. We'll get into that forecast. We're going to talk more in depth on what's going to happen coming up into this next week here. Start to get more into the details with this. I'll probably make this video just a little bit longer than typical this year so we can kind of, or not this year, but typical than what we usually have, just so we can get into the details on what's going to be happening into next week. So other than that, guys, if you guys will do me a huge favor, as always, if you will like the video and hit that subscribe button down there at the bottom of your screen, I would appreciate that very, very, very much. But other than that, let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, we'll go ahead and start out with our Storm Prediction Center Day 1 outlook here. This is actually going to update here in about 19 minutes. So I should have probably waited to make this video until then, but regardless of that, this will probably change a little bit. So just be mindful of that. Check SPC. I'll have an updated video on TikTok as well talking about the updated version. So just wanted to get this out here to YouTube to you guys as I'm recording this morning. So we've got a marginal risk along the East Coast back down here into North Carolina, South Carolina, and portions of Georgia here. We've also got a marginal risk back up into portions of far extreme western Michigan there, down into Wisconsin, back down into Iowa, and down to the central and southern plains here. Level 2 slight risk, also elevated chance here for some scattered to isolated severe weather later on this afternoon here. We're going to look at the threat for damaging winds, large hail again, once again, and then the potential for a small little tornado risk back down there into portions of southern Texas and western portions of Kansas there, kind of like yesterday where we saw a couple tornado warnings, maybe a brief couple land spouts, but it didn't really amount to much of anything other than the wind and the hail that was out there. So 2% tornado risk there in the green shaded area. We've got a wind threat at 5 and a hail threat at 5. Once again, 2% there in the green on both shaded areas there for southern Texas, northern portions of the Texas Panhandle, western Oklahoma Panhandle, and western portions of Kansas and eastern Colorado. Wind threat at 15 and 5% there in the central and southern plains for winds up to 60 to 70 miles per hour, and along the East Coast there, and also looking at hail as well. Wouldn't be shocked to see a hatched hail risk and wind threat, although we had that yesterday and it didn't really come to fruition. We got on and live stream for a couple hours yesterday. Didn't really, other than the 2 tornado warnings down south, we just really didn't see a lot of anything yesterday in terms of significant severe weather. So just be mindful, once again, just another day of active weather out there if you are in the central southern plains up to the Midwest and along the East Coast. We'll go ahead and get into that day 2 forecast here again, and tomorrow as well. Not expecting anything too crazy. We've got a marginal risk for severe weather back up here into portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and eastern Colorado. Once again, there will be a tornado risk with this, a wind threat and a hail threat. I wouldn't be shocked to also see a slight risk get issued at some point here in the next little bit, as well as this outlook gets closer to happening tomorrow. Once again, 2% tornado risk in western Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and southern Kansas. Wind threat at 5% across the board, and hail threat. So really today looks to be more of a bigger day, I would say, in terms of the next 2 to 3 days. We get into the day 3 outlook as well, and we have another marginal risk here on the day 3 outlook, a little bit smaller here. This will probably be the last low-end day we see for severe weather. I think as we get into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is where things are going to start to uptick a little bit. But nevertheless, there are marginal risk for severe weather for most of Oklahoma and north portions of Texas there, the Texas Panhandle as well. We'll keep you guys updated on that. And then things start to get interesting. And this is where we're really going to start to have a more in-depth conversation on what we're going to be looking at in terms of next week, the end of this week and into early next week. The Storm Prediction Center does not have a day 4 or day 5 outlook. There probably will be one at some point. This is where things get interesting. I mentioned yesterday we had a day 7 outlook. Now it's day 6 because, we're a day ahead here. The Storm Prediction Center also expanded the slight risk. So we've got a level 2 slight risk for on your next Monday forecast here. I believe this is next Monday. Yeah, this is for next Monday. Level 2 out of 5 forecast here for portions of central, southern, and northern Oklahoma, back up here into eastern Kansas, eastern Nebraska, eastern portions of North Dakota and South Dakota here, or not North Dakota, South Dakota, I should say, most of Minnesota, most of Wisconsin, pretty much the whole state of Iowa, and central and northern Missouri here under the gun for an all-episode severe weather event. This could be tornadoes, this could be damaging winds, this could be large hail. We're going to have to kind of wait until we get clearly closer to this event happening to know those fine mesoscale details, but what I'm getting at is we're looking at the threat for potentially a significant severe weather event both on Monday and on Tuesday next week. And I've mentioned this yesterday. I've kind of mentioned this the last couple of days leading up to these SPC outlooks. So if you're in these areas, you need to be paying attention. I do expect upgrades to come at some point, whether it's an enhanced risk tomorrow or future days down the road. We're more than likely going to get some upgraded risk zones just given the different type of environment that we're going to see with this event. We also got the day 7 outlook. This was added last night. We've got a level 2 slight risk as well that goes back down here from northeast Texas all the way up into portions of Arkansas, pretty much the whole state of Illinois, portions of central and eastern Missouri, eastern Oklahoma, pretty much much all of Indiana, portions of northwestern Ohio, southern Michigan, and southern Wisconsin. This looks very identical, once again, to a lot of these severe weather episodes we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. Once again, this one on Tuesday looking a little bit more organized in terms of dew points, instability, and shear that'll be in place. This isn't going to be a tornado outbreak. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know this now. As of right now, this is not going to be a tornado outbreak. The reason why that is because our troughing is still very, very wonky in terms of what it could be. We're not talking about the super mega crazy trough. We're talking about a pretty decent trough that's going to come through, a negatively tilted trough that's going to bring in some decent moisture, some instability, some shear. We probably will have at some point a strong tornado risk by the time this point gets here, just kind of looking at some of the kinematics and the thermodynamics in the atmosphere. But that'll be what we've got now. Like I said, expect probably a Sunday risk zone. We'll probably get a day 4 and a day 5 in between here as we go through the next couple of days here. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. But the Storm Prediction Center very confident in an all hazards severe weather potential episode going into Monday and Tuesday, at least of early next week. Let's go ahead and talk about what our Triple HR model is doing for today. You're going to see showers and thunderstorms across pretty much Texas, Oklahoma, all over the board here. We're going to see basically a lot of outflow boundaries off of thunderstorms and severe storms. Basically what that is when you get a supercell that pops up, it's going to produce an outflow boundary, and that outflow boundary can initiate more storms ahead of that, or it can allow for just wind all over the board. So we're going to get those outflow boundaries that are going to happen today when you get storms that are barely moving. You can see this by this evening here, more than likely around 7 to 8 p.m. We're going to see these supercells firing off here. A couple up here into eastern Colorado, a couple up here into northern portions of Nebraska here. Texas will have some capping a little bit there up in northern Texas Panhandle, but that should break by this evening as the sun sets. Temperatures drop down to dew point. So you can see a couple of these little storms here trying to produce a couple isolated tornadoes, maybe some damaging winds, some hail. So we're going to have to watch out for that. We will probably end up going live for this event later on this evening as this starts to kind of pop off. So we'll keep you guys updated on that, but do just be mindful there that we're going to have the threat for some showers and some storms and some severe weather with wind, hail, and a possible tornado. And then we go overnight tonight, and we'll have probably another little MCS working its way through into northern Oklahoma and southern portions of Texas there, and into southern portions of, or not southern Texas, we've got northern portions of Oklahoma and southern portions of Kansas there. Bear with me, guys. And then we'll have more showers and storms firing off tomorrow. I would say tomorrow definitely goes slight risk. And the reason why I say that is because we're going to have, once again, an elevated threat for some wind, some damaging hail, some damaging winds, and some isolated tornadoes out there again. So I would expect SPC to upgrade to a slight risk at some point between now and by the time tomorrow afternoon gets here for this event. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. In terms of like the overall instability in the atmosphere, we will have instability in place here from Texas all the way up to Nebraska. You can see those instability values increasing, and then as those storms use that energy, that will decrease, but then we just get more and more push of instability going into Thursday, going into Friday, and I'm a little bit more concerned about Thursday afternoon's event. The reason I say that is we could have a lot more instability than what is actually being forecasted here, at least as of now. We've got a pretty decent little dry line set up here with a surface low to the north, so we're going to have to watch this and see what this does. But in terms of watching that, we'll keep you guys updated on that. I definitely think Thursday's a little bit more of an uptrend day, at least from what we're seeing on some of the models this morning. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. We'll continue to look at that. Tornado parameters as well going through the next couple of days here. Just kind of show you guys those to give you guys an idea of how much spin is in the atmosphere, and really not looking at too big of a tornado risk. This is going to be for this afternoon here, northern Texas Panhandle back here near where our surface low is going to set up at. And then we're going to see that fade, and then we go into Thursday. A little bit more of an elevated threat here on Thursday, so we're going to have to watch this here. I'm not a little bit of a fan of seeing that there pop up on Thursday for significant tornado parameters. So we might could see the threat for maybe a strong tornado potentially if that verifies on Thursday afternoon. We'll just have to see how this dry line sets up, kind of go into the details. We'll talk more about that in stream today and kind of give you guys an update on that. So that's our short range models for today. Like I said, over along the East Coast, general thunderstorms, wind and hail over there. I'm not going to show you guys that because it's basically the same thing we saw yesterday. Just be mindful, wind and hail out there along South Carolina, eastern North Carolina, and portions of central and southern Georgia. We'll go ahead and talk in depth on why are we going to see the severe weather event that we're going to see going into this next week here. And basically what's happening right now, we've got zonal flow across the United States here. We've got these little bulges in our jet stream here, just enough shear to allow for these day-to-day severe weather events across the southern plains there. That is a horrible circle that I drew. Back down here into the central and southern plains, back into the Arctec there, just seeing there's enough shear just to allow for, an isolated tornado or two with low-level moisture indication, as well as the shear for mid-level and upper-level support for updraft potential. Going into Wednesday and Thursday here, you can see those showers and storms with that jet stream moving in here. Things get really interesting as we go into Friday and Saturday. We're going to see this pretty decent trough coming in here on Friday and Saturday, and depending on how this amplifies and how this actually looks once it gets closer to range here, once we get closer to our mid-range and short-range models, we'll be able to kind of pick this out in bits and pieces a little bit more. We could see a very strong upper level negatively tilted trough moving in across the Rockies here, but we get towards Sunday here. And I will mention Sunday is a little bit of a conditional risk zone day. Actually, it's a lot of a conditional risk zone day. And the reason why I say that is we are going to have a capped out environment out here in front of this trough coming in. If storms can break that cap, we could get a couple severe storms out there today. We'll have to see if SPC in fact issues something, but I definitely want to watch Sunday afternoon here, Sunday evening for potential for some low and severe weather. It's as we go into Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see that trough eject, and we're going to have once again this elongated southwesterly flowing jet stream in the mid to upper levels here that is going to bring in moisture. We're going to have a ridge off here to the east, so we'll have instability, we'll have dew points, we'll have enough shear. So I do think, especially up near where that surface low is going to develop, we'll have two different areas of initiation. We'll have the cold front initiation, and we're going to have a dry line setup that goes back down to Oklahoma, Kansas, and Texas. And we're going to have to kind of, like I said, wait for mesoscale features to get an idea on what we're looking at hazard-wise for that. But I definitely think all hazards are going to be at play for this. And then even going into Tuesday, that jet stream continues to work its way east, and we'll be putting the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, portions of the Midwest up for the threat, and then possibly even maybe a low-end threat on Wednesday across the Northeast. We'll have to see what happens there. And then I will say we are starting to see a little bit of a change in more of a, I don't want to say a lesser active pattern, but it looks to be we're going to go back to this kind of consistent day-to-day severe weather potential. It looks to be May 1st might be potentially bringing more of a northwesterly flow in. We're going to try and develop a ridge over in the West Pacific once again that could put a damper on any major troughing that comes in. But I want you guys to pay attention to something. Just because we have a couple days potentially of no significant severe weather or really any severe weather at all doesn't mean it's over with for the month of May. May is known for throwing these curveballs. We can get that type of severe weather potential. This is, well over 200 hours out, but it looks like we do have the potential for maybe a ridge that's going to try and develop pretty briefly here. You'll get an omega block pattern. You'll get a low on both sides of that ridge, which is called an omega block pattern. It gives you that symbol there, but then we're going to have to watch going into the, second to third week of May there, potentially have some more troughing coming in. So that's, well ways out. We'll continue to update you guys on that as we see fit here. Another thing I want to show you guys is going to be our dew points. This is going to give us the idea of where we're going to see that more significant potential for severe weather. And you're going to see those 60 dew points, all over the board through this weekend here. It's as we go into early next week where we see that troughing come in, that negatively tilted trough. And it's not very often that we get, actually, I think this is the first time this year we've seen dew points as high as far as portions of northern Wisconsin is pretty much into the Canada line there. So we're going to have to keep you guys updated on that. They'll have a very, very open warm sector on Monday and on Tuesday here for severe weather to fire off. And it's just where does the forcing come in? Where does everything, line up at? All of that, etc. We won't know that probably until about Sunday. So we'll keep you guys updated on that there. But you can see that'll continue through Tuesday. And then once again, continuing to see the southeast moving there in terms of potential for rain, showers, thunderstorms, maybe some severe weather. And then after that, things get a little bit more uncertain. Another thing I want to show you guys here as well, just an idea of where the precip's going to fall at. You can see showers and thunderstorms here across the board going into Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday there across the United States there. And then going into Saturday and Sunday, we're going to see that troughing move through here. And then by Monday, we'll see that low moving in where we could see the threat for severe weather. I know you're like, where are the showers and the storms at if we're going to get severe weather? Global models do not handle these dry line setups too well. They're not going to show all this convection that's going to be potentially in place. And there could be a capping in as well. That's, why we may not be seeing this currently. But I think as we get closer and these short range models pick this up as we go into the weekend here, we'll start to see what this is going to look like more on pen and paper for Monday and Tuesday. Just way too far out. There will be severe weather, guys. It's not that we're not going to get severe weather. It's just the models just don't handle that stuff too far out. The small details that we have to wait for. One more thing I will show you guys before we wrap things up here is going to be the instability going into the week here, and you'll see that instability going in the plains. It's going to be there all week long. We'll continue to see showers, severe weather ongoing as we go into Monday here. This is where we see that instability really start to get surged here up into the upper plains, the upper Midwest here, and this is where Monday's setup becomes a big factor. How much instability do we have to work with going into Monday afternoon's threat? And God forbid the European model is right. We're going to have two different modes. We're going to have the surface low up here where our warm front and our triple point are going to be, and then we're going to have almost 5,000 to 6,000 Cape down here into Oklahoma, Texas, and southern portions of Kansas. So you guys can see what I'm basically getting at here is it's going to be a very, very active next couple of days here, looking at the threat for more significant severe weather on Monday and Tuesday of next week as we enter the last official week of April, first week of May. We'll keep you guys updated on that. Tuesday also uptrending just slightly as well in terms of instability, and then after that things get a little bit uncertain, but it looks like we'll probably keep the southern plains and the central plains and even down in the southeast a little bit more active as we go to the first week of May. So that's what I've got for you guys. I appreciate y'all for watching. Be safe, be weather aware, and we'll see you guys in the next one.